Hello friends, this is Shelley from Koala Knits and Knacks. So glad you're here with me. In this tutorial we're going to make this very sweet baby cuddle bear lovey. Now I have a bigger one on my channel as well as a bigger cuddle bunny lovey and a baby cuddle bunny lovey, so you want to check that out on my animal playlist. But we're going to make this little baby bear and he is so adorable. I am using my 22 needle machine, Addi machine, and I used Big Twist heather yarn in the color beige. I'll put the yarn particulars in the description box below, but it really uses very, very little. I want you to take a note at this, take a look at the black part of the nose here in this picture. Because when we get to doing the fine detailing with the black, near the end of the video, I make his nose much bigger. And later, after the video was done, I took it out and I thought, no, that nose is way too big for a little baby bear. So, so I took it out and I did it much smaller. So when you get to that section, follow the technique, but just go smaller and it'll look much nicer. All right, friends. So if you like this video, make sure that you hit that thumbs up. I would appreciate that so much. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please also do that. That would be great. I'd appreciate that. I also have a Facebook group that I'd love for you to come on over and join if you're not a part of it already. So once you have your supplies, we are going to get going on this cute, cute, cute little bear. Have fun, friends. All right, so we have our 22 needle machine set up. Got my little koala. My friend gave me this little koala. Isn't he cute? You can't really see him well in here, but I just hooked him on there. We're going to take our Big Twist heather yarn in beige, or your color of choice. I'm going to bring the last white, the first black needle in line with my yarn feeder. And we're going to do the drawstring cast on. Now, you know, when I first started my channel, you'll see some of my videos that I did, and I called this the long tail cast on. Like I'm just shaking my head. I'm sitting here shaking my head. I did it in several videos because that's what I thought it was called. But it is the drawstring cast on. So sorry if I led you astray in some of my videos. We grow as time passes by. I'm going to cast on in front of that first block, behind, in front, and behind, all the way around. Little koala, you're getting in my way. I think I need to take you off. Okay, you just sit there and enjoy yourself. Okay, so now it's going to go behind that last white, and we're going to turn our row counter to 0. Into that yarn feeder it goes. Oops. And we're going to slowly do this first row to make sure those loops drop down over the red teeth. Oops, see that one split? You can't see it, but I can. So I'm going to take my little pick and I'm going to pop that up over the red teeth. Now it does that because there's no weight pulling it down. So that's why you have to go slow on these first few rows. There we go. Probably just slow on that first one. I think I can sail now. Oops. What was that all about? Let me just get some slack out of my ball here. Hang on. We don't want to make our needles work that hard. There we go. We're going to go for 10 rows. I'm already almost there. This is the inside of our head. This is 8, 9, and 10. Watching for that black divider to come around. Of course, I take a black permanent marker and I mark that red divider between the last white and the first black. We're going to cut off a yarn tail that's long enough to go around 1.5 to 2 times. Pop it between the last white, the first black, making sure that you put a little bit of tension on it as we rotate our barrel once, because we still have to knit those two. Okay, I'm going to bring it around, and I'm not going to take that black divider all the way to the end. Just about there, because this needle started to pop up. This one's next to pop up, and then the one that we're going to take off soon is going to pop up soon after. And we need to take that loop before it goes ahead and does that. So we're going to put this on our needle. Friends, this is the drawstring cast off. If you watched my cuddle bunny, my baby cuddle bunny, which I have on the channel, and you need to go look at it because it's so adorable. I called it a long tail cast off, and it's not. Okay, and we're going to see that one I almost messed that one up. There we go. And we're going to take off every stitch. Pull it sideways like this, not up. If you pull it up and you pull too hard, you're going to take the loop off the the next needle and you'll drop your row. That won't be fun. So I'm going to just continue around like this. You can take your thumb and you can just move that barrel by hand. You don't have to turn your handle. Very easy to do. And I'm going to release all these stitches. Don't go too far like what I just did again. Almost there. All 22 are on my needle and on that drawstring. Okay, there we go. We're going to take that little piece. We're going to give it a little stretch and then we'll set it aside. We don't want to forget to do that. So there we go. That's the inside of the head. Taking that little head, we're going to just give it one more little stretch. You're going to take one of the sides and you're going to pull to cinch closed, making sure that you smooth it out as you do so. You want a nice smooth top. And then you're going to take that yarn tail, cut it off so it's not in your way, pop it on your needle. And by the way, I encourage you to always look down under the description. And first of all, we're going to go around the top row of stitches here to reinforce. I always encourage you to look in the description box below the video, because I will always have links down there for some of the supplies that I use, like these needles that people are always asking about. Now, I just recently became an Amazon affiliate, so it's not on every video, but I'm going to start going back and adding some links for you so that it's easy access. There we go. But I also put other notes down there, so be sure and always read the description under the video. So I tied off in a knot. I went around once. We got it nice and secure. Tied off in one knot. And I take that through, pull that knot through. You probably heard that go through, and I'm going to just give it one more little knot here. Or you can do 2 knots on the other side and then do it that way. I'm going to cut that off. Then we're going to take this other one, smooth out that top. Such a cute little head. Grab yourself some fiberfill. And we're going to, this is way too, well, maybe not. You never know. We're going to stuff that into there. That's way too much. Just a little baby, Shelley. And we're going to pull that. Getting it in there. Nice and firm. See, I actually can put a little bit more in there. Just like that. Got a cute little inside head. Now that you've got that tightened, you can maybe even squeeze in a tiny bit more. Maybe I wasn't overestimating. It's amazing how much stuffing you can put in these things. But you want to make sure that if you're ever doing an animal like I always explain to you, you don't want to overstuff so that the rows separate like that and you see the stuffing in them. But this is the inside head. We're not going to see it. You can't, it's not doing that anyways, but you're not going to see it. But I do want a firm head, so I actually am using all of that. I'm going to then take this yarn tail and we're going to cinch closed this other side, giving it a little bit of reinforcement. Okay, so take your needle, go around the top row of stitches just like we did on the other side, and pull. You only need to go around once. And one more time. Knot off. That's one. Push that knot down with your thumb. And do it one more time. Take this strand, go through the center there, out the side. Cut it off. Set this aside. Let's now make the body. Cute little head. Taking that same yarn, you're going to want to take a length that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're going to use that in just a minute. That is for
doing the division, the area between the head and the body where we're going to cinch. That's what we're going to use that for. But for now, we're going to take our last white and our first black. We're going to put it in line with our yarn feeder again, and we're going to cast on the same way we did before. And we're going to go in front, behind, in front, behind, in front, and behind, all the way around, letting that yarn slip through your fingers. Don't put any extra tension on it. You're going to set your row counter to 0 before you get to the end. It should be behind that last white and into your yarn feeder. Take it slow for the first round, making sure those loops drop down over the red teeth. There we go. Pull that little yarn tail down. We're going to knit 10 rows. This is 8, 9, and 10. Watching for that black divider to come around. There we have it. I'm going to open my latch. I'm going to pop that in between the last white and the first black. I'm going to take my ball of yarn. You might have to take the sleeve off of it, and you're going to pop it into the center just like that, if you can. If you can't, then you just hold it, okay, as you go around, and that'll be fine. You're going to then take your one that you cut off, pop it into your yarn feeder between the last white, the first black, over top of the strand that's already in there, and you're going to knit 1 row. Coming around 1 row, just like that. And I'm going to cut that off. Did it just maybe 1 length too long, but better long than short. Then we're going to take that other tail. What we're going to do is just going to tie, don't tie it tight, just tie a little, just so you can see when you have your project off, you know these are the 2 tails that we're working with, okay? Then you're going to take this back out. You're going to make sure that it's underneath this tail here. And then when you come into the yarn guide, it's going over top. That way this yarn tail here is catching that last stitch there as well. Okay, so there we go. We're going to pop that back down onto the floor. Now your counter will say 11. We're going to knit 20 rows of this color. So it's going to go till you have 31. And if you want to stop and do stripes or whatever, you can do that. But I'm just going to do a basic baby bear. So I'm going to go for 20 rows until I get to row 31. Once I have row 31 completed, I'm going to cut my yarn tail, pop it between the last white and the first black. Then I'm going to take another color of yarn that's easy to see so that I can easily see my stitches against it when we have it off, because we're going to do a straight edge on here. This is waste yarn. Popping that into the center, we're going to go ahead and we're going to knit as many rows as you're comfortable with. I always do 7. And 1 more. Cut off your tail, open your latch, pop that between the last white, the first black, shut your latch. Don't forget, because if you leave this open and you turn your handle, you'll clip the end of this with your needle and break one or both. You'll either break your needle and your latch head, or you'll break both. So you want to make sure that you shut it. And then you turn your handle again and your project will come off. Look at that cute little baby bear. Here is our little drawstring. I'm going to just poke my finger in there, pull that through to the other side. Then it'll be ready to use. Oh, how cute is that? Taking that body, you're going to want to also grab 2 stitch markers, and I use a 5mm crochet hook. We're going to close this end here. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your yarn tails and bring them outside of the work. The one loop here where your waste yarn is coming out of, you're going to take one of your stitch markers and you're going to pop it into that loop. Then when you go to this side here, you'll see that this is your working yarn. If you were to pull on that working yarn, just for those of you who need to know, if you were to take this top loop here and pull on that, this is the last loop that this working yarn is making. That's the one that you want to pop your next stitch marker in, making sure that stays outside. Now we know that there are 22 needles on this machine, so we want to find the very side ones, which is 11 and 12. Taking my 5mm hook, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm going to pop my hook under the 12th one. Then we're going to count that as 1. And we're going to go up to this 11th one. We're going to pick it up, put it through the loop on our hook. That's 2. Go down to the bottom, pick up the next loop, 3. Up to the top, pull it through the loop on your hook. That's 4. This is why you need waste yarn that's a different color, because you can see those loops very easily. 5, 6, 7. If you were to miss one of these loops, and once you remove your waste yarn, then that whole row would start unraveling, would start dropping, and that just would not be fun. So, I mean, it's easy to fix. I have a video on how to fix a dropped row after it's off your machine, but it's so easy to prevent it if you just count. If you're new, when you're not new, I mean, we can make mistakes when we're not new too, but it's fairly no-brainer once you've done it a million times. Then you can pick up on this bottom stitch marker, and that will always be 21 if you're counting. If you're counting and that was not 21, you did something wrong. And this top one is 22. Pick it up, put it on your hook, you can work it. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to take your yarn tail, yarn over, and pull it through to secure that last stitch. Taking our yarn, our waste yarn, we can now remove it. If this tail is really long and it gets in the way, put it on your needle. If you can get it on your needle. And put it into the middle of your seam here and bring it out the side, making sure that you put your finger in there and make a loop, because you want to be able to grab that later. But then you've just taken that out of the way, and when you take off your waste yarn, it's not tangling around. There you go. Now you take that loop and you pull it out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this onto my needle again. I'm going to just weave it under that stitch, then go back under that one, then back under this one. That's 3 and 4. Then I'm going to go back the other way. I'll just do 3 going this direction. Take that in between your 2 layers, pull it through, and cut it off. There we go. We have a beautiful, beautiful seam. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take, you see where we have our cinch yarn here, that one place where we put 1 strand and then tied it off a little bit. I undid the tie already. You can take this and you can just pull on it just a little bit to start cinching it. Just to get it started. See? So cute. Because then you're going to take this other one, that's the top row here, and you're going to pull that a little bit, but before you get too far, you're going to take your beautiful little head that you made and you're going to stick it in there. And the reason why we do 2 layers like this is so that you don't see the stuffing. And we're going to pull that nice and tight over the top there. Of course, taking your needle, we are going to reinforce that top. Under that first row of stitches. You guys, these are so cute. Like, I love this yarn, and I think you're gonna love it too. Go out and get some, because like, it's just so soft and it looks so bearish. Is that a word? It looks bearish. I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot and push down. I worked so hard today, you guys. That's why I wanted to come downstairs and do something in my craft room. I cleaned every cupboard, my pantry, everything. I cleaned it and I got a big box ready to take to the secondhand store. So I'm telling you that. Maybe it'll inspire you to go do the same thing. And I just cleaned out my freezer upstairs and my fridge. Oh, I worked hard all day. And now I get to play. There we go. Now we're going to take these two again and I'm going to cut them shorter. We're going to tie off a little knot and tighten that. Not too tight, just nice. That's what I always say on my videos. Do it nice. You don't want to make it look like you're choking the poor guy. And then I'm going to tie a knot and one more. Put this back on my needle. Let me grab this one. I'm going to take it up into the head, under the stuffing, out the back. Cut it off. Isn't this little baby bear coming along great? Oh, just love, love, love. Grab your 22 needle machine. Let's make the arms. Bring that last white and the first black needle in line with our yarn guide. I'm going to take that yarn that I used for the body. We're going to cast on in front of that first black, behind, in front and behind, just letting it slip through our fingers again. And before we get to the end, we're going to set our row counter to 0. Into the yarn feeder it goes, slowly for this first round. And there we go. And we're going to go for 10 rounds. Now, I chose to use a different yarn. I was going to choose Craft Smart Mushroom, the same color we're going to use for our nose. I made 2 of these arms and I had them already and I was going to assemble them and the yarn is so much thicker than this that they were way too big. So take note of that. If you have one yarn, even though they both say they're 4 weight, if one is a lot thicker, it's going to be too big for this project. So I did 10 rows. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut off my yarn tail, leaving a tail that's a bit longer so that I have enough to sew with. Okay, and we're going to pop that into the center of our machine. We're going to then take our waste yarn. I'm choosing that same color and I'm just going to reuse this one. I'm going to pop it in there and we are going to knit. Oops, that one was going to tuck. You naughty thing. I'm going to knit 7 rows. Oh, I'm going to knit 5. There we go. And I'll make sure I close this one first because we know that these stitches can unravel very easily. So I knit 10 rows. Then I added waste yarn. Took it off the machine. I'm going to make my second arm. So I'm going to cast on with my yarn color. I'm going to knit 10 rows. Then I'm going to add waste yarn and I'm going to rotate my barrel twice so that waste yarn lets go and comes off. And again, we're making 2 arms into the guide it goes. And here we go. Go ahead, friends. Make 2 arms. Taking those arms, we are going to stretch them. And then we're going to do a flat seam on this one. So we're going to go to the inside. I'm going to help you find your stitches. Let me grab 2 of my favorite stitch markers. Where your waste yarn is coming out of that loop, right here, you're going to pop a stitch marker in there. And right beside it over here, the last loop that your yarn tail is joined to, which is this one here, we're going to pop a stitch marker. Making sure your yarn strands are outside of your work. We're going to then count around to stitch 11 and 12, grabbing my crochet hook. I'm going to count this stitch marker, this loop, as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and my thumbs on 12. That now becomes stitch 1 worked. We're going to go up to the top here, pick that one up and work it through. That's 2. Down to the bottom, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, back and forth, back and forth. This is 21, this is 22. I'll see you when I get there. Coming up on the end, this is 21, so I'm going to go under it, work it, take out my stitch marker, pull up on 22, get underneath it, work that one. Then we're going to yarn over it with our tail and pull it through. Push down that knot with your thumb. You're going to want to take this long yarn tail, pop it on your needle, and put it through your seam here. Thank you, my friend Tina Norton, who's part of our neighborhood here, for teaching us this little trick. And then you can grab your end of your waist yarn. Mine, remember, it ran out. There we go. And you can pull it off and it doesn't get tangled around your long strand. Simple technique, brilliant idea. Except for I split my stitch. So technique failed in this case because you see how I put my stitch through that. So that's okay. I'm just going to cut that off. These things happen, but normally it just comes off with no problem. There you go. Go ahead and do that to the second one. But before you do, pull out that loop. There we go. You're going to use this to sew with. Magica camera, I already did it to the second one. Okay, so we did that. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take this other end here and we're going to pull on it and we're going to cinch this side closed. Making sure you smooth that out so you have a nice clean edge. And you know what? I didn't cut that one off because I want to make sure we need to have one long one at the end. So whichever one is longer, I'm going to keep. If you know that this one's long enough, which I can see that it is, I could have hid this one. But if you have this one that we're working now, if it's long enough for you to sew your arm onto your body, then you can go ahead and hide this one. And mine is, so I'm going to hide this one. Get it out of the way. I'm simply going to just take it into my work. I don't have to weave it back and forth because we're going to be sewing this end piece on, and so it's going to secure it even more. So we're going to just cut that off just to get it out of the way. Working with this one here, we're going to reinforce this top row of stitches. We have little hands that are playing with these, and although I'm pretty convinced it's not going to break or it's not going to rip, you just never know. So you want to reinforce it. Go around once, around that very top row of stitches. Give that a pull. Then what you're going to do is you're going to fold this in half. Take this little arm and fold it in half. What a difference in size this one is from the one I had said to you that I made it with a different color, Craft Smart mushroom yarn. I have that from a couple of years ago actually, and I had it left and I thought the color would look nice. Way thicker, even they're both for weight, and so it just didn't look good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go through this side and this side, picking up that first strand and then doing it again and tying off in a knot. Pulling that knot down with my thumb. We've got a secure end there. Now what you're going to do is you're going to find the side where the wide part of the V is going to the left and the point is down here on both sides. Give it a little half a turn, row turn if you need to get that happening for you. Then we're going to do the mattress stitch, and to do that, we're going to go into this first stitch here. We're going to pick up that bar. We're going to trail it under and pick up the bar of the next stitch. We've got 2 bars on our needle. Pull that through. We're going to go up to this side. We're going to get under that first stitch, which is there, and the second one. I need to bring this over. Just going to get tangled there. And then here's where it came out. It's very hard to see it on this yarn because it's got flex in it. But here's where it's coming out of that stitch. I'm going to go into that same stitch, pick up that next bar and the next one. pull through. Here's where it's coming out here. You're going to go into there, pick up the next one and the next one. That's how easy it is to do the mattress stitch. If you keep your eye on where it's coming out, then you know that's where you go back in. Then you won't get mixed up and have it twist on you. Some people say, I can't stay on the same row. All you have to do is look where it's coming out, and that's the row you need to be on. Pick up 2. And I'm going to pick up the last 2 here and the last 2. Then I'm going to just take this point, hold it with my fingers, and pull on this to close. And we've got a beautiful seam. I'm going to take this across, and I'm just going to pick up this side right here to just join that tighter. And in doing so, I'm going to also tie that knot there. Then you're going to just squeeze this closed like this. Squeeze your end closed, but I want this in the middle. I always sew my arms on with my yarn tail in the center, not on the side like this, because then I can get it centered on the body. So put it in the center like that, go across, pick up your other side, go across again, tie a knot to join. This one's ready to be sewn onto the body. Go ahead, do that to the second arm, and I'll meet you back. Taking my body, see, now that we have this in the center, and if you remember which side you did your seaming on, I did it on this side, so I want that close to the body. I'm going to, because this is centered here, all you got to do is go to the side here and pick up the very center stitch along this side's edge here. And you go into the neck, pick up that stitch, and you put this on. It is automatically centered. Automatically centered. We're going to go ahead. These little things are hard to hold. And we're going to pick up the next stitch here, going under both layers. And then I'm going to go right next to where, here's where my seam was. I'm just going to pick up just a little bit there. Go right close to it. And I'm going to pull. Then I'm going to do one more here. I'm going to do 2 more on this side actually. And then I'm going to go back into the neck, right close to where I was. Actually, I can go overlap it and go over then just a little bit. Oh, I want to pick up a little bit more than that because it'll come off. There we go. Got a good chunk there. Pull that through. And then I'm going to go right to the side of the arm here. And I'm going to pick up, here's where the edging is. I'm going to go down to this next stitch right there. I'm going to go through it, and then I'm going to come back up into the center of where I started. And then I'm going to pull, and you watch when I pull how it rounds that off. See, otherwise you'd have a straight pointy edge, and I don't like that. Okay, from there I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew it on the other direction. Oh my goodness. There's a knot in here. Maybe it's just a piece of fluff. And I'm going to pull that. Go into the center, grab some of the head. And pull it. Come back up, grab both edges. Back into the head. Well, it's the neck actually. Pick up a section. I'm going to do one more before I pick up the side of the arm. And back down. I'm going to pick up the side of the arm right there. And when I take that up, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to come up the center. Because then when I pull, you'll see it rounds off. That is so satisfying. I love that. Then I'm going to take this down to this other side. Pull it through so it's underneath. Just pull on that. I'm going to take this yarn tail, cut it a little bit shorter, but I'm going to leave it hanging. I'm not going to knot it off until I have the second one on and I make sure that I love it. That is so adorable. Can't even stand it. Okay, I'm gonna put the other one on and I'll see you right back. When they're both on and I see that they're placed beautifully, doesn't actually even matter what side, we're gonna then knot it off. And hide our ends. Go ahead, do that to the other arm. For our nose, we're going to use this really nice white yarn. I don't have the jacket on it anymore, the cover, but I think it's loops and threads, soft and shiny. I'm going to show you that I actually made the arms, like I mentioned already, and the nose in this mushroom color yarn. It is so thick. This turned out to be absolutely huge. So that's going in the garbage too. And so we have to make one now with this thinner yarn. I'm going to bring my last white, my first black needle and line. I'm going to cast on behind and in front. Behind and in front. Should make sure I'm actually centered in the camera here. And into the yarn feeder. And we are going to set a row counter to 0 if you want, but we're going to just knit 6 rows. This is 1, 2, 3. This stuff likes to split. I gotta go slower. 4, 5. So just a very tiny piece. And 6. We're going to then cut off a tail, longer than you normally would because we're going to use it to sew on as well. Open that latch, pop it between the last white and the first black. We're going to make sure that this is closed. You're going to put a little bit of tension on it so we can finish knitting those 2 needles, and we're going to bring it around just like that, and we're going to do the drawstring cast off. Popping this back onto my needle, we're going to remove stitch 1. Then 2, and we're going to remove all of our stitches, just like we have done previously. We are then going to take that little piece and be very careful with it. We're going to cinch closed one side. And then it's easier to give it a little stretch once one side is cinched because it's so small. Just like that. I do not want to go around here twice because I don't want a big bulky center. So I'm going to close it as tight as I can. Then I'm going to tie off in a knot. Pull that down with my thumb, that knot, and I'm going to go into that center. Bring this yarn tail out the other side. Do not cut it off. Then you're going to turn it upside down and you're going to close this other end in the same way. Taking those 2 ends, I'm going to cut this shorter one off. You're going to tie a firm knot, bringing both layers up close to each other, just like that. I'm going to tie another knot. And one more for good measure. Go ahead and cut that shorter one shorter. Let's take our little bear. Which side do you want? This is the natural looking side. That's the side I'm going to take. We're going to pop this little guy onto the face, but we're going to come up to the side. With our yarn tail, we're going to tie off in a little knot just so that it secures it, so that when we're pulling on it, it's not going to gather it in here, okay? We're going to center that between the arms and go about 1 or 2 rows up from the neck, 1 row if you can. And I'm going to squish this together a little bit as I do it. probably could get away with 4 rows. But I'm going to pick up some, but then it's so hard to put together. I'm going to just go up to the first row here on the side and then bring it down. I'm going to pick up in the head, right close to where I'm sewing. And then I'm going to go up to the first stitch here, not on the side here. Generally we go here. I'm going to go up a stitch. That'll make this a little bit smaller. Then I'm going to go into the head, go up a stitch, into the head, go up a row, you see by going up a row how it makes the circle smaller, right? I hope you understand why I'm doing that. There we go. Tighten, back into the head, and I'm going to do that all the way around. Take your time. This is a small little piece. You want this nose to look good. So up a row and pull. I'm going to continue all the way around. So if you went up a row all the way around, you will have the perfect size nose. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to just tie off in a knot. And I feel by putting the nose on, the arms and the nose on first, it's easier to line up the ears. And then one more knot. Into that nose. Pull it through and cut it off. Grab your 22 needle machine. We're gonna make the cute little ears. So we're gonna bring our last white and our first black needle in line with our yarn feeder, and we're gonna cast on, just like what we've been doing, behind and in front, behind and in front, all the way around. And if you want to, you can set your row counter. You'll be able to count them without doing that, but we're going to go behind that last white into the yarn feeder. We're gonna make sure that we go slowly for this first round. Making sure it's slack coming out of my ball there. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's it. Stop that divider at the very beginning there. We're going to cut off a tail, a little bit longer than what you would normally because we're going to sew on, although normal would probably be big, long enough anyway. So take that out, put it between the last white and the first black. I've been known to cut it off longer than what I need on most occasions. It's either too long or it's too short. Sometimes there's no happy medium. Okay, you're going to give it some tension because we still need to knit those 2 needles. And you're going to rotate it so that black divider comes almost all the way around. I can see this needle's coming up, so I have to stop. We're going to pick off that one. And then the next one. And I'm going to cast off, removing all of my stitches. And then I'm going to cast on again. Knit 6 rows and cast off. Go ahead, friends. Make 2 ears. Taking those ears, we're going to shape them. So we're going to take one tail. Sometimes these little pieces are hard to work with. So if we cinch one end, then we can stretch it better. Then you've got a little bit of a better hold on it to just give it a little stretch, okay? We're going to pop this tail onto our needle. Getting this other strand out of the way. Mercy. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just knot it off under one strand here. I'm not going to reinforce around this one. No need to. And then into that center and pull that through. Then while this tail is out, you're going to grab this other one and you're going to do the same thing, smoothing out that top as you go. Pushing these two edges together so it's a flat edge. And we're going to take our two pieces and we're going to tie a knot. One, and get those two pieces right together, two sides right together. I'm going to cut this one off. I don't need it long. And we're going to tie it one more time. Just like that. Then cutting this one even shorter. We're going to take the longer one and we're going to work it up to the very side of our piece, just like that. Tying a knot to secure. Then what you're going to do is you're going to fold this in half. You're going to pop this tail out to the side here and you're going to fold it in half. It's hard to do because it's tiny. And then we're going to just sew it together in a half circle, going back and forth. If you are using other 4-weight yarn, like this is the Big Twist Heather yarn, and it is a medium 4-weight yarn, but it is a lot thinner in my opinion. Well, not a lot, but a little bit thinner than what some of our other yarns like the Bernat Premium is. And so I'm finding that this is turning out a little bit smaller than what my Cuddle Bunny did. But when you use your yarn, no matter what you use, just follow the same row counts anyways. And because if you're consistent with it, it'll just, every piece will just be that, you know, a little bit bigger if it's a little bit thicker yarn, but it'll still be proportionate, so that'll work. But I just find this from my Bernat Premium, like if I just feel it like this, it doesn't seem any thinner, but I think it is just a little bit thinner. So this piece is a little bit smaller. And there we go. I have my one ear done. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring this edge to this corner, one corner to the other corner. I'm just going to pull it close like that. And then I'm going to go back into this side, knot it off. And there's my one ear. Go ahead, do that to your second ear. Taking those ears and your little bear, you're going to put this on your needle. And we're going to sew this on. I'm going to measure it by the middle of the arm and go up. Have your tail at the top of the head. Start at the top. It's easier to keep it straight. At least I think it is. Then we're going to go in. Not quite to the top. Almost, but not quite. And then from there, this little guy is slipping out of my hand, you're going to pick up at the base of your piece, just like that. And then pull. Go back into the head. Have it a little bit, if this is the center of the arm, have it a little bit off center, closer to the front. I think it always looks better that way. Not too close to the front, but not exactly in the center of the arm. And don't go back, because too far it looks goofy. Back in. And pick up. I'm going to go up the side a little bit there. You hardly need any stitches because it's so small. Then I'm going to go back in and come out into the center. And then when I pull, because I went up the side, it's going to bring that in a little bit, just like that. And then I'm going to go back up to this one because I think I need to go up a stitch. And then come back in and up the center again so I can bring in that corner. And you see how that has that gap there? I'm going to go back down and I'm going to fasten that even a little bit more. Once you have them on and you like where they're placed, you think that they're even, then you can knot off. Now what I did a couple of times is I kept going up the side here, and I left one here so I could do it again. I went up the side like I showed you before, but I still didn't like it. So I went up the side a couple more times and then into the center. Oops. And pulled it. And I liked how it rounded off the ears a little bit better. So you might have to do that. This one is still a little bit wonky from before, but oh, there. There, that's better. All right, so I like how they're placed now. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tie off the knot and hide the ends. Oh, I think he's adorable. And he'll come into his own when we add the black. So I'm going to take some black yarn. This is Bernat Premium in black. I'm going to go up the side of the head. And here's the center of the nose. I'm going to go above center, just a little bit above center. But try to stay in the center, but above center. As in, stay in the center here. That's not going to let me get in there, so I'm going to try again. There we go. That's where I want it to be. Pull through. Don't pull all the way. You need to leave a tail for sewing, which of course I cut off way too long again. And from here, we are going to take it up into an angle. Go into that side, that seam there. Come straight across and come out about the same distance. See that? And I'm going to bring this through. And then I'm going to come back down into the point. And I'm going to begin filling this in. Coming up right beside this other black strand. And then going back down right beside it into the point and out right beside this one. Right at that seam. And when I pull this, I want it to line up right beside this other one. Beautiful. I'm going to continue back and forth until I have this all filled in. If your point starts to get square, then move it down just a little bit. This won't take long. You don't want this too thick. Try to get these nice and even so they're right beside each other. I'm going to keep going till I have it filled in. I had to move my point down into this very center, which is always what happens. And then when I'm done filling in, I always outline again because you see how you get a little bit of a jagged there. I'm going to go in, go up to the very edge. I'm going to outline that back into the point up to this very edge. And outline that. And from there, we're going to go down and come right up out here. Go into the point and come out here. These little guys are harder to do than the big guys. I'm going to go lower. That's like when you're crocheting little miniatures. I tried that once, and I said, that's just not for me. This is for me. I'll do this more often, but miniatures are harder to do than big ones. And we're going to pull on that. I'm going to just play with this a little bit, just like, because I don't want it thicker. And then I'm going to go up into here, and I'm going to come up where I want my eye to be. Pulling on that. There we go. Yes, that's good. So then my eye, it's almost lined up with this angle here is where I came up, and I'm just going to go over a little bit, then straight over to this side. That's how you get them even. You just come straight across. And then down a little bit and out where I went in. We always make it double strand when it's the bigger ones, but for the single one, you don't want a double strand of this. It'll be too much. Just like that. Pull this back out because it's too long. You won't know until you do it. So I'm going to pull it out. You have to have patience with faces, my friends. Don't think that you can do it in one try and it's bing, bang, boom, done. I mean, you might be able to. I can't because I like it to be perfect. I think attention to detail is everything. And I think that's much, much better. Let me see it from this angle. Yes. And I think if I can't move that over, I'll have to put another strand in there. I think I can get it though. There we go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut those off, tie a knot. Be sure that when you tie this first one that you don't tie that one tight because you'll tighten the eye. Tie the second one tight. Pop these back on your needle. I'm going to take a bigger needle here so I can carry both strands. And don't forget to look in the description box below. I'll have the link for these needles in there. Out the back. Pull it out. Pull up on here. Cut off at the back. Pull up. And look at this. Little baby cuddle bear. Oh, I wish I had a mummy to put beside him, but I don't. Those are the first things that I sell, or they go for presents or craft sales that I have had. They are the first things that go, is the cuddle bears. But now they have a baby to go with it. Oh, isn't he just so adorable?
Here he is, friends, with a much smaller nose. I think it suits him much better. Thank you so much for joining me. I really have enjoyed spending this time with you. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a blessed day.